Hey, welcome to Web3 Weekly with your host, Blockstar Technology.
Let's go.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 31 of Web3 Weekly. So, today I have Craig, Charlie, Maureen, and myself, Cozy. So, today we're going to talk about how blockchain can help your business. So, there's so much discussion going on. There's a few things happening on Ethereum network as well with the Shapella, the new where you can unstake your ETH2.
32 ETH.
Yeah, 32 ETH. So there's so much going on, and it has not slowed down. So we thought today we're going to talk about, rather than talking about the technology itself, let's talk about how the blockchain can help your business or anyone's business or anyone who you know. So let's get into it. Hey, anything you want to say before we get into it, or
No.
No?
I think you should maybe start by, well, obviously,
Yeah.
we're talking about how blockchain can help your business,
Mhm.
but not every business.
Yes. That's a
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
I like
yet.
that. Not yet. Unless we blockchain everything. All right. Even the
Blockchain the world?
blockchain the world.
Okay.
Alrighty. So what I have done is I have prepared some questions so that way that we've been guided in a more
Structured
organized-
manner.
Structured manner.
Yep.
Thank you, Maureen.
No worries.
So let's get started. Hey.
Yep.
All right. So the first question we're going to talk about is that how can one identify if their project needs blockchain technology? So we thought we'll start with this question because everyone thinks, because there's a lot of investment going on, right, in the blockchain space. Constantly we are hearing, oh, this person got invested 15 million, Anima invested like $500 million and 50 million. In Dubai, they're investing money, they're throwing money. So a lot of people, what they're doing is they got these awesome ideas, and now they think, okay, like, oh, how can I integrate blockchain to my idea? Rather than looking other way around, they got the idea, now they're looking at how the blockchain can be integrated into their business idea. Rather than coming up with, okay, there's a problem that can be solved using blockchain, and what is the business? So almost like looking the requirement the blockchain can solve. So I thought it would be good to work out, because this is what happened, right? So what happened was this person got a great idea,
Yeah.
and it works non-blockchain, works perfectly.
Mhm.
And they said, oh, Kosi, how can I integrate blockchain to this project?
You see, there's a difference though between whether something can go on the blockchain and whether it'll be improved
Mhm.
by putting it on blockchain.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Like, what is the problem you're solving,
Mhm.
as you said, or what is it improving?
Mhm.
Because if it's not, then
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right?
it doesn't
And
need to be
no.
shoehorned in there.
I
and
think
the reason,
I
sorry.
think a lot of people really are finding it that it's like a trending topic, a trending technology, that they're just trying to have a square peg in a circle hole sort of thing. Like they're trying to make the solution fit the problem
That's
rather than the
exactly it.
other way around.
100%, and that's exactly what I was like. So they see the money coming in, and they're looking at, okay, rather than solving the problem or the challenge, they're looking at how can I get my hands on the money for the investment, and that's what it came across. So, and that's why I thought, okay, we'll start with this question first, and then let's dig a little bit deeper, right?
Yeah.
So, as we know, the blockchain, we've got the decentralization,
Yeah.
we've got the transparency,
Mhm.
and we've got the like security, right? It's
Yeah.
more like the immutability.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Those are the core, like I would say, like out of about 10 tenets, those are the main three, right? So based on those, how would someone work it out? Oh, does it work for my business? Right? Or based on that, or what are the other benefits? So how would someone say like, okay, oh, this is going to work for my business? For example, if you look at accountants,
Yeah.
Maureen, right? How would the accountant look at, where would they start?
I think the place to start in any business is generally the same. You start looking at the policies, the procedures, what aspects of your business you can streamline, what is a very repetitive part of the business, what could be automated, how could you cut costs, where do you share databases? Like with accounting, they have a lot of ledgers that they need access to, the spending in. You can have instant live checking of those databases and those ledgers, that could definitely cut costs and reduce the requirement. You can be connected straight to businesses directly, so it can be fed through, and people that are auditing can have live updates. So I think with anything, you want to really take a look at what your business is, what areas you work in, and how you can streamline certain things. Obviously, not everything is suitable, but if you have things where you have ledgers, or you have supply chain, or you have multiple parties involved, or something that you need to keep tight records of. Thoughts?
What about someone that has no idea what blockchain is, but knows Bitcoin only?
Well,
Has
I mean,
no idea what you're talking about. Hasn't
I think
trust their brain, or sorry, carry on.
yeah, we talk about this a lot. A lot of people have the misconception. They've heard of Bitcoin, they've heard of cryptocurrency. A lot of people that may not have looked into it deeply enough sometimes confused and use them interchangeably. But Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are just one of the many uses of blockchain technology. So blockchain technology is the underlying infrastructure that those applications are built on, because it's just a great use case of blockchain technology. It is a distributed ledger. It's a good ledger to keep account of money coming and going, and that's why a lot of people, Bitcoin was the first official use case of the blockchain technology, but the underlying technology is blockchain. Is there a better way to explain that?
No, I think you're exactly spot on.
Yep.
But when looking at your business and business processes that you mentioned,
Yep.
there's a couple of things to be aware of, I guess. One is that, and I won't give any details about this specific example, but we had somebody come to us with an idea that they wanted to use in their business with blockchain. And it was obviously things had to be built. It wasn't a ridiculous cost, but there was a cost involved. But it turned out that was going to actually benefit people on the other side of that.
The
equation,
buyers
the
rather than the
buyers,
business
not
itself.
the business that was actually selling.
Yes.
So at which point it just wasn't financially viable. It still had a good use case, but how do you get the users to
Turn them on.
which one?
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Turn it. I thought you were telling me to turn it on. The other thing that I wanted to touch on is a comment that's made frequently is that, like, the doorbell comment that we use, right? So doorbells don't need to be on the blockchain. Right?
Yeah.
However, if you manufactured doorbells and had manufacturing equipment, then obviously you could monitor that equipment with IoT devices so that you were, meeting the required maintenance schedules and any, work and health and safety practices that needed to be done. So there is a use case for blockchain there. Once the doorbells were produced, if they're the new type, the Ring doorbells and things with the cameras and that sort of stuff, if they're being used for any sort of security purpose, then that data, or at least hashes of that data, could go up onto a blockchain so that you know that it's authentic and none of the security data has been messed with. So there's quite often use cases that'll come along beside the actual product or service that you're giving. And it may not always be to your benefit. It may be to other people's benefit that then may help drive your business.
Craig, why don't you share one of the examples that we gave earlier in the week about the Walmart study of the supply chain where they tracked
with
the mangoes
in the US, so
that's a great example.
Actually, I'm going to talk about it a bit later on.
Okay,
that's fine. That's fine.
Well, I guess I'll put my 2 cents into how can one.
Sorry, you can't put 2 cents. You can put 2 satoshis.
Okay, 2 satoshis, some GUI, a gas fee. To how to identify their project needs blockchain. First of all, come talk to Blockstars. So I'll put that one out there. And you've got to have an idea. They've obviously done a little bit of research and they can see some potential there. And then come talk to us. And then we'll expand on that and help you out and break it all down and come with case studies. One of the most interesting ones that a lady we met, Craig, which we live and breathe blockchain. We've been in it. I've been in many years. And this use case I'd never heard of, where in India they've got satellites connected to blockchain for immutability. And what they do is they take a photo every half an hour of crops, and they use that for insurance, for the insurance of the crops. So people can't say, "Oh, the corn got stolen last night." They can actually see, or burnt down, and they know it's immutable. So the people within that company can't cut a deal with someone else to go, it got caught on fire.
If somebody went and harvested that crop and then they went and claimed that it was either, weather related, a swarm of locusts came through and ate it all or whatever else it is, they've actually got the evidence that it was there the day before and if it was harvested.
And it can't be tampered.
Yeah. And so what about that second question? What are some common misconceptions about, blockchain's necessity in projects?
I can say straight away, it's a lot of people, I would say a lot of people, not some, I don't know, correct myself, but I think a lot of people think Bitcoin is blockchain.
Yeah.
And cryptocurrency is like straight away, it's a Ponzi.
Yeah.
Right? Because I feel because people don't understand it and it's a lot easier to be dismissive.
Yeah.
Rather than learning, because it's so easy to be like just, this is a Ponzi scheme, it's like, doesn't work. I mean, I did the same thing. So let me point my, the finger at me first before anyone else, because when someone mentioned to me in 2010 about Bitcoin, I said don't worry about it. It's just a fad. It's a technology, because I didn't bother to look into it.
Yeah.
And I just I was dismissive, and I know what my mental state was when I answered him. I crazy? I've seen so many of these come and go. So I think that's one of the things that straight away I would say is cryptocurrency and the same thing. So.
And that goes, you should never throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Okay, so whether it was a particular cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, whatever it was, your answer, I guess, was the equivalent of saying, no, I don't like that social media platform.
Yeah.
So therefore saying the entire internet is not good.
Yeah,
is what it was. Yeah.
I can understand there have been, to be fair, that it is a very volatile market. There have been a lot of, because the technology was new, because it was a very unregulated space for a long time, because it was the wild, wild west. We had ICOs, we had rug pulls, we had pump and dumps, we had a lot of people taking advantage, and a lot of people also not doing their research and just seeing Bitcoin millionaires, and everyone wanted to get rich quick, so they were just throwing money at it. And with hype comes, that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
I think the misconception would be everyone thinking it's only Bitcoin and it's only public.
Yeah.
Coming into the question 3 that we'll get to, but you've also got private blockchains that can speed up processing. You can have hybrid blockchains with a consortium where a group of businesses, like I believe JP Morgan or government, the banking sector, can only transact or share that data with each other, and it's closed to the outside world. But it also becomes a good audit trail for auditors as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's it, right? And what's the blockchain? The other thing is the hacking of blockchain, right? People think some people that can be hacked, like software, right? So, and I know it's not impossible to hack, but it's not easy.
That's right.
Well, I mean, Bitcoin has been around for how long now?
Yes,
how many?
19.
And it has still not been hacked. Bitcoin has not been hacked. Yeah. So, because of proof of worth, they might have all these other, coins and other consensus mechanisms that have been hacked, but the original thing that it was based on the computation and the algorithms and the mathematical equation and the power needed, Bitcoin has not yet been hacked. Is that right?
Well,
I read that.
Well, the beauty with Bitcoin is that when it was hackable, no one's seen any value in it. There was no computer power.
Yeah.
Now to be able to, no one would actually want to hack Bitcoin, because if you hack Bitcoin, you'd crash the whole crypto market, and you wouldn't get your money anyway. But
I'm pretty sure there are people trying this.
Yeah, but to hack Bitcoin, you would just off the top of my head say Bitcoin's worth $1 billion market cap. You'd need like 0.9 billion to be able to hack it, or 1.5 billion to hack it, which you're actually spending more money than what it's worth because of the decentralized nature of it. Where if I go spin up my own Bitcoin and run it on my one node, well, hey, you'd be able to hack that pretty easy.
And that's another important thing to take. And when we're talking about misconceptions, is it's not the blockchain, because there are many types.
There's and different consensus, and people are still experimenting today. Like recent one, proof of history, and then who knows, ZK
Cash,
ZK Cash. Oh, that's a new one. I haven't heard of that one.
That's right. All right, cool, awesome. Let's move to question 3. Okay, here's your time to shine, Craig.
No.
Can you share examples of successful blockchain projects and their benefits?
I'm going to leave the one that we were discussing to Maureen, and I will give you a different one.
Why don't we do it together? Craig assisted me this week to give a talk about some other people wanting to learn the benefits of updating your technology and adapting to new technologies so you didn't get left behind. And we gave a number of really great examples of companies around the world, very notable large companies that have been exploring and utilizing blockchain, and Walmart was a really great example where they implemented it in their supply chain. And previously, for Walmart to track the origin of mangoes in their supply chain, it took them roughly 7 days to do so. But after implementing, the use of blockchain in their supply chain, that went from 7 days to 2.2 seconds. So that is a significant difference.
I haven't done the math on exactly what that is, but that's a huge increase.
7 days to 2.2 seconds. That is, you can just see the efficiency, the reduction of cost. There's just so many benefits. And I think, we worked on a number of other examples. So why don't you?
Well, there was heaps, but even one that wasn't used in there is the fishing industry that, out in the Indian Ocean, for example, they haul a fish on board the boat, it gets tagged. As soon as it does and it goes down, and it depends on the size of the boat, obviously, as to whether they, do any processing on the boat or whether it comes back to a processing plant. But that fish is tagged, and because there are IoT devices in use on the boat and things of that nature, by the time that fish goes the entire way through the process and gets to the supermarket in some form of packet, not only have they reduced the ridiculous amount of seafood fraud that there is at the moment, because the last thing that I read said that about 80% of all seafood is fraudulent as to what it is and where it's sourced. But it'll get to the stage where you can pull out your phone, scan your QR code. You'll know where it was caught, what temperature it was stored at, which boat, which processing plant, the entire way through, so that you know its provenance. Now, and for seafood, that's great if it's stopping fraud, but especially if you're thinking about any other type of food product, and people with allergies, like, has it been through any of the machinery that has previously processed nuts or anything of that nature? It's going to make a huge difference if they can stop this stuff, in its tracks.
But I feel like it's all good, but I feel like still there's an element of trust involved.
Human element, the human element,
right? Until that all, like, there's no human element involved, I think still there are people questioning, like, how what if they didn't tag properly, or what if they didn't? I mean, like, we know that mistakes happen with humans involved, right? Whether they do it consciously or subconsciously, or
you're right. Anywhere that there's people involved in the process is open to some degree of error, I guess. But if you are also at that time, all right, if you've still got the degree of error that's there, but removing any possibility of fraud. So, rather than that really nice fish that you want being taken out and sold elsewhere and replaced with a cheaper variant of something that's been pulled out of a disgusting river somewhere. It's a vast improvement.
I think the best thing about this technology is, as far as we have come, it is still in the conceptual phase. So it's still in that, even though there's been so many projects, there's so many trial and error, we have still yet to see that big project that is absolutely perfect for this technology. So I think a lot of things, it fits the technology really well. It's, they're playing with how they can use it, how the blockchains work, how to build it, its best use case. But, while they're still nutting out all these things like the scalability, the, human element of it, there's some, it works really well for very basic transactions. The bigger the line is, sometimes like the more involvement it can have. That's why smart contracts are amazing. They're like vending machines. If it's a very simple mathematical thing, like if A happens, then B happens, they work amazingly. They can cut out so much, of the middleman, reduce cost. Like they're working great in things like conveyancing. Do you know how difficult conveyancing was prior to that? It's reducing cost because you just have an automatic execution. If something is met, then it just automatically executes. So the simpler the equation, I feel like the more streamlined and efficient it can be. But when you start taking on bigger things where more hands touch, you always increase the risk of there being fraud or there being,
But what you're saying, and I get what you're saying about that sort of one big sort of killer app almost to do all this, it's going to be a combination of a lot of smaller projects.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
will then be used in sequence.
And
so as an example, if we're talking about like accreditation data, so Bob the electrician, Bob the builder, whatever you want to call him, his accreditation is on chain, verifiable. You know that Bob is, well, let's just call him a Sparky at this point, right? That's all well and good. The ute that Bob drives, all of its history is on chain through the dealer and the automotive manufacturer, so that they're covering all of their recalls and things of that nature. All of its service history is there. So not only is that good for Bob when he goes to resell the car, right, but it proves that provenance. Now, Bob comes around and works on your house, which is now either tokenized or has had its sale transaction like disintermediated from the conveyances because it's on chain. And if the property history is also on chain, then you get all of these things together where it's not just sort of one. So there'll be one project application, whatever, that's doing the vehicles, one for the accreditation, one for real estate, it just goes on.
But the other thing is, I think the future holds the integration of emerging technologies used together. So I think the power we'll see is when we combine things like blockchain with AI, with deep learning, with machine learning, with all of those things, and begin to integrate them seamlessly. And that's when we're going to see that real trajectory just take off.
I guess to your topic, Maureen, where you said the killer app, won't even know you're using blockchain. Do the people at Walmart know they're using blockchain? It's just a ledger in the back end. And I'd say the killer app with blockchain in my mind at the moment would be gaming. Actually being able to own your digital items in my mind. But then there's also JP Morgan that have been settling international transfers in half a second because when you centralize it, you don't got to worry about decentralizing and mining. They've got a few servers in different places, and they can just chunk those transactions like no tomorrow. So, and they've been doing that for years now. JP Morgan, everyone sort of thought, XRP is going to be the banking transactional international settlement, and they built their own blockchain infrastructure, centralized it between their own businesses and their own data centers for that computational power, and they've been using it for maybe 4 years now. Like 2018, 19, they set that up, and people at the bank don't even know they're using it. But it's only between in-house, like not your ATMs, not your anything. It's the big money boys are using those transfers.
Even though they tried to talk everyone out of the technology. Funny that, hey.
So we have a question. So we have a question, but I can't read it. Can you read it? Because
when a smart contract has insurance built into it, people will adopt.
Oh, that's a good because
I think my understanding is a couple of them do.
No, I guess probably what's I understand what he's saying, like insurance, right? So it's like, okay, what if something like the rug pulls and something goes wrong with the hacks and things like that? But people would not. I think the even though what we're saying about the killer app, we don't want people to talk about smart contracts. They want to just interact with the service and have that service. It's like they don't even know what this blockchain, right? But it all happens like as a vending machine.
You don't know your Facebook photo is stored on IPFS. It's just there. 100%. And then if your account gets hacked, well, you've got a backup.
And it's funny that you say smart contract have insurance built into it, because insurance companies have been actually adopting smart contracts for automatic payouts. So I think a couple of places in America have had, like they trialed it. So if your flight was delayed or cancelled, that information is public and it would feed back to the people that were insured. And the moment it fed back to the smart contract, it was automatically paid out, and then you could go get your next flight. So, and that's a smart contract, and the insurance companies have been using it quite successfully through the feed of live data.
Yeah, and sorry, Craig, I'd like the person who put that comment and just to expand on exactly what they mean by insurance built in, so we know exactly. Something. But there is also a smart contract called ERC72R. So you can buy your NFT. If you're buying an NFT, for instance, this is the most popular use case it's been used for. And within that 721R contract, the developer states a date where you can actually be refunded on. So if that's insurance of like, but I can get my money back if need be, I can refund it. It comes depending on how you want to use it as a use case. But if that's what the commenter thought of insurance.
Yeah. Cool. All
but
right,
I guess with insurance on smart contracts, there's for proper insurance, the way I see my car insurance, or like, hey, my NFT, I want it insured. I guess legislation has to catch up.
Absolutely.
Companies have to catch up. And there would have to be like in the token mapping where there's like a government body pre-approval smart contract system where someone develops, they've got to go through this body of, there'd be developers investigating it, going, okay, this is it. All right, we've complied, and this can be insured by company A, B, or C.
Is that not the point of smart contracts in the first place? If you agree to give me 10 potatoes for my 5 apples, and we do it on-chain via the smart contract, ignoring the fact that they're physical items, if they were digital items, we're talking here. So it's when you provide those items to that contract, it takes my items because we both agreed to it, and they're just gone. There's no insurance. Like, hang on a minute, you got my apples and I didn't get my potatoes.
But then there's also, you've got those potatoes and you go connect to another smart contract, that drains your whole wallet. And you've now lost your potatoes.
That's a different scenario.
All right, next one. Sorry, I'm going to hang up on all these stuff, so I'm going to go fast on these ones, right?
We don't have to get through all 10 today, Cozzy.
Yeah, but I really want to get there. There's some questions here that I had no answers to. So I'm really keen. Especially this one.
Okay.
All right. Get ready, everyone. Okay. Are there cases where blockchain implementation was later deemed unnecessary?
Doorbell.
No.
The Australian Stock Exchange, but that was, I believe, blowing out budget things. It would have worked very well. I'd love to wake up at 11 p.m. at night and be able to buy stocks at the price that they're set at rather than wait until 10 a.m. the next day.
Mm-hmm. So they implemented it and then realized, okay, it's not necessary.
I don't know of specific like company names or instances, but I'm sure there's been some, because the technology is still so early, and I guess the barrier to entry, although it's getting easier, was so high for the consumers and users that I'm quite sure that there was a heap of things that were out there that just didn't even get the user adoption.
Yeah, I guess
it doesn't mean that it was unnecessary. It just means that it failed due to the difficulty of user adoption.
I guess I've got one. There was one, I'll go back, cryptocurrency as such, blockchain. There was a token, I won't name it, but there was no. It's actually a beautiful blockchain, EOS, and they just done a $6 million partnership with, I forget the company, but it was in CoinMarketCap News today. We'll look at that afterwards. But a beautiful blockchain, works good. They were the first ones to develop delegated proof of stake, which a lot of projects are using now.
I think I just saw Maureen's mail.
Just flew off.
Sorry.
But but there was a token. I'd just call it a token. And
we tried to get him to change the subject, and he
and
chose
2017, they run an ICO. They're like, we're going to be the gambling token of cryptocurrency. Buy our token, and you can gamble, and we're going to get a casino license. I was like, well, why didn't you just build the platform and integrate Bitcoin and Ethereum that already works? So I guess that was one case I can see that didn't really work for blockchain. It was more of, do you have to create your own blockchain token?
I think the other thing is a lot of the industries that they were looking at were so far behind and hadn't been updated for so long that had they just updated their processes and databases and systems properly, that would be an improvement on the existing infrastructure as it was. They didn't necessarily have to go onto blockchain and have to have it immutable and decentralized and all of that stuff. They could have done enough to update it.
Well, the banking sector would benefit highly from blockchain. Like, what are they running on the banking?
Let's keep the question.
What was the question?
So one of these, actually, the shipping company, the Maersk, they implemented. What they did was they brought in few other shipping companies that used to talking like that's what came to my mind. So they were heading this blockchain project to bring all the shipping companies together so they can track all the shipping, the routes, the what happened, everything, what containers and everything, to streamline the process. So they spent quite a few $1 million, I believe. I don't know what the number is, but quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then recently, they just said like, okay, look, it's too much work, too much hassle, and even for it was tracking all the paperwork as well, all the permits as well. Now, so other shipping companies said, look, this is just too much work than what we do. We don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So they stopped it because they didn't see the benefit of it. But Maersk said that they're going to carry on developing this platform because they see there's so much value in it.
Was that I don't see that as a failure of like blockchain itself.
No.
But more of the application that was written on top of it.
Correct.
It'd be like, every time you visited a website, you had to fill out a form with 20 fields this long instead of just, I'll log in with Google.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's what you do.
That difference.
Exactly.
You know what
And
I mean?
that's what
it
it is,
becomes too hard, too costly.
Not necessary, but I think they found it like a bit clunky, and they what they put it was like it's not really needed.
Yeah.
Because maybe for so many reasons.
But
who knows?
If it's not broken, don't fix it.
That's what that maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I think. But I can see there's so much benefits, but that's what the Maersk sees it, and they're still pumping money to develop that platform. So.
And I think you need that initial investment. Like, you have to be sure that the return is going to be something significant. Not every company or industry has millions to pour into something that's, not necessarily going to be that much of an improvement. If it's working efficiently already and it's not going to reduce that much, then why?
Why did they invent cars if walking was fine?
What?
All right, next question.
Walking wasn't fun.
Okay, next question. I'm going to make sure that I read everything. All right? I'm reading for you guys.
Yeah.
All right. What factors should be considered when comparing blockchain to other options?
Cost.
Yeah, the ones we just covered. Ease of use versus cost.
Yeah.
So is that the one, or is that other
There's heaps.
So what factors should be considered when comparing blockchain to other options? Say, for example, like, do I need, for me, I'm thinking like immutability, audit trail.
I was thinking, auditing. It's perfect for auditing. Like, I forget the name of the company, but they're a real estate company. And they hash all of their. If I put an offer in for Maureen's house, it gets hashed.
Please do.
And it gets hashed, and only me and Maureen can open up that contract with.
Yeah.
You sign them with an email. It's hashed all on the back end, and it's all right. This user. So only me and you can open it. And then,
so, is there another option to do that that's not blockchain? Is there encryption? Is there?
Well, there is.
but
the thing is, like,
being held accountable. It's like no. I was the one who put in that offer for your house,
On
but
that
I'm now
time,
pulling
on that
out
day.
off
Yeah.
to buy Cozzy's house.
Yeah,
And I
because-
thought it was beautiful. Just
Yeah.
rather than fractionalizing or like tokenizing assets, you can just hash the contracts.
Yeah, and because like when this like it could
You
be
get
like
time
something like a database, right?
Yeah.
But it's different from database because you're saving information, but the information you're saving is different. Like, and also we spoke about public and private blockchains and all
That
that
is
as well.
true.
So
If it crashes and then the auditor wants to come get your 5 years audit trail for the last 5 years, you go, oh, sorry, my database crashed
Yeah.
a year ago and I lost all of that.
No single point of failure.
Yeah, I also lost
Distributed.
all my customers had to relog in and create a new account.
unless it's running on a single node.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Curveball.
she's in
Go
charge.
to the next question.
Okay.
Can I just
Alright.
interrupt and say how funny it is that Charlie thinks everything's beautiful today?
Yeah.
I thought it was beautiful.
It's been a beautiful day today, Charlie.
As I
Every
say,
blockchain. I thought it was beautiful that they did that.
as I say, another day in paradise.
That's it.
Just another day in paradise living on the Gold Coast.
Charlie. All right, next question. How can one evaluate if blockchain's added value justifies its costs?
The return on investment. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a lot of foresight. It's about creativity. It's about, being efficient, how it's going to, provide you more market share, how it's going to reduce costs.
Cost
Just
is it in money wise or opportunity?
everything.
And-
I think
mean,
everything.
The stock that you did.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, well, I think, it's so important. A lot of people get comfortable where they are rather than looking in the future. You should always, no matter how good you think you are or your business is doing, if you fail to adapt and keep up with technology, keep up with the market, keep up with the times, you'll fall behind quicker than you realize. I mean, we looked at what happened to things such as Kodak. They were once the leading in the market. They failed to update their digital
Like
whatever.
cameras into like,
Yeah.
from
Blockstars.
films.
Blockbusters, mate.
There you go.
Blockbusters, one of the biggest household names, home movies. Netflix went to buy them for
No,
50.
by the way, it was actually
Yeah.
Blockbuster were able to buy Netflix for $50 million. I went, no, that's me.
People like coming in on a Friday and searching through DVDs to choose, which I did like as a kid.
It was
to be
beautiful,
honest.
wasn't
I
it,
did
Charlie?
enjoy it. I did enjoy it. It was beautiful going
was
in with
beautiful
my
times.
parents on a Friday to choose
Unless
what
all the
movies.
copies of that movie were out.
But anyway,
New releases all
the cost
time.
of failure is something you should all also consider. It's not just the cost of innovating, the cost of research and
Yeah. The money, it's not
yeah.
just money wise, it's like opportunities as well.
yeah.
Cool.
That's right.
All right, next is
What was that question again? I did have something on that one,
all right.
Maureen.
Yeah. How can one evaluate if blockchain's added value justifies its cost? So cost versus benefit,
Yeah. One way I'd look at it is healthy eaters at the moment. Everyone is on the healthy eating craze. Craig, you spoke about the supply chain.
For a second, I'm like, that's what
Whoa.
I'm
Come on, guys, back into it. Now I'm pulling you
I'm a
in.
vision of health.
But people, there's a big thing with eating healthy these days, and as Craig spoke about earlier with the supply chain, what are people willing to pay to be able to scan that QR code on the shelf product and know exactly where it come from, exactly where it's come through? Is it organic? Is it free range? Can I tell? There's a market just there. So that's my 2 cents. On to the next one, because
Okay, beautiful idea. It is beautiful. All right, next. Which industries are particularly well suited for blockchain implementation? Damn. I was going to say
I
finance.
feel like playing trivia again. Finance.
Supply
All right,
Come
so
on.
if you remove finance and supply chain, all right, what would be something?
Ticketing.
All right, ticketing. All right, why ticketing?
Because there's so many scalpers, you can duplicate it. It's an industry that they're always having issue with. It's an industry where there's high levels of resale and counterfeiting, and that brings us to another thing: counterfeited products. Come on, guys, I'm not answering
All
here.
right,
Come on.
Charlie.
Oh, me? I'm on the spot. All right. Anyway, then I was listening to your questions, your answers, Maureen. What was the question again?
So, which industries are particularly well suited for blockchain implementation?
Blockchain implementation.
I say
Fundraising.
Fundraising.
Yeah.
Fundraising.
Charity.
I was going to just say that.
Charity.
Come on, let's
Like
make
if
it
you're
trivia.
Yeah.
if you want to have access to the whole world where not a lot of people, what is it, like 60% or 80% of people actually don't have bank
Yeah.
accounts, but they can have an Ethereum wallet or a
Yeah.
Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah.
And depending, there's legalities depending on what
Legalities.
country you're in. Yeah, that's the one. Thank you, lawyer Maureen. And you can kickstart a business through tokenization. Great.
Manufacturing.
Yeah. Why is manufacturing?
Well, as we discussed earlier,
Yeah.
even if it's for maintenance on equipment, not necessarily the supply chain itself, as you said. But yeah.
If for example, if I manufacture, Maureen wants to say something. She's like, oh, come on, give it to me.
I was like,
Hold a second, Maureen. Hold a second.
Before she does, it takes the entire thing. So manufacturing,
Yes.
automotive, aerospace.
Yeah. It's because they really need that usage, tracking of usages as well, right? When you come to, I think my mind like V8 or the F1, all those cars,
real estate.
Imagine being able to scan my airplane ticket and know when it was last maintained.
Oh, and not get on the flight.
You know me with flights because I get a little bit nervous. I get a bit nervous.
It's beautiful.
Beautifully spoken.
All right, yes, Maureen, go ahead.
Yeah, real estate is another good one. Buying and selling, conveyancing, land titles.
Yeah.
Man, what a mess that thing is.
Yeah.
Like any old school record of they still relying on paper records that get lost, or if it gets burnt down. Any database of ownership or list of ownership, perfect for blockchain.
Especially in countries where there's been war.
Yeah.
You escape the country from war, you come back. Sorry, I now own your house. And it's like, no, I own it. Well, where's your paperwork? I haven't got any.
Having sovereignty of your own identification. Imagine having your ID, birth certificate, marriage certificate, all those certificates on the blockchain so you don't lose them. They don't get lit. What's going on there? What's your face doing?
Can I just send them straight to Charlie's wallet?
All right, that was weird.
All right. Okay, next question.
You can.
All right, so we are getting very close to the hour mark. So I'm going to go to the last couple of questions.
Fire questions, is it? Because fire them. Bam, bam.
So what challenges or pitfalls should be considered when implementing blockchain? So what are the pitfalls that should be considered?
Not talking to Blockstars.
Oh, that is a big one,
Not
Charlie.
talking to Blockstars for some consultation.
Man.
That's a beautiful answer.
Yeah, that is a big one. Interpolability.
All right,
I'm going to say it depends on the blockchain, but efficiency, for example, right? Now, there's a heap of blockchains out there that, as we touched on before, that can do transactions quite quickly.
Yes.
But then there are others that cannot. So it depends on the use case as to how fast you need the transactions, how much data.
Yes.
So there's a cost involved in that as well.
Of course. And what is a triangle?
Speed, efficiency, cost.
Speed, security, decentralization.
Decentralization.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess you're always going to win, that's it, the triangle. I guess, something has to give in, right? You can't have all
you can only have two. Isn't that the rule?
Yeah.
Good, fast, cheap. Pick two.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I guess, really rather than thinking too much of, if it's based on those three, I think it becomes quite simple because that doesn't mean that you will know all the technical jargon. But once you start with that one, then come and speak to Blockstars.
Yeah, and I think energy efficiency as well. That's such a big topic at the moment, energy usage. But a lot of people think that because of Bitcoin and what they've heard in the media, that it drains a lot of energy and it uses a lot of fossil fuels and all of that stuff and Ethereum. But what they don't understand is that is a public and permissionless system. But there's all types of blockchains. So you don't necessarily have to have high energy usage if you have like a private and permissioned blockchain. It's very controlled. It's, a reduction. It, controls who can read, who can write, who can input, who can access, who can verify what goes onto it. So that's a reduction of energy. So depending on your use case, will depend on what, you'd need to consider when implementing a blockchain.
And with a private blockchain, you just get some AWS servers.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Okay, so
You want to say something?
I was just going to say, but when doing that, And depending on the number of validating nodes, are you not then compromising on security?
Well, you get some Azure ones too.
Well, I guess you got two things, right? Well, you got the speed,
That's right.
and you got the decentralization.
Well, it's
Unless
not
you
real
got
decentralized.
No, it's not decentralized. You
Security.
got like one, security,
Yeah.
All right, last question.
Yep.
And you run 21 nodes
Validated
with
nodes, yeah.
21 servers.
I wonder why is it 21 and not 31 or 17 or 19?
Have you seen, there's a movie about
21 Jump Street.
No, 23 actually.
Yeah, that's a gangster movie. I don't think that's the reason why we have
Yeah.
21 nodes.
Yeah, I actually think it's actually an old school movie,
Yeah.
but everyone remembers the new one. That's my fun fact, my beautiful fact for the day.
All right. Thank you.
You're gonna get so many memes made out of you after this, man.
Yeah.
My beautiful fact
All right.
for the day.
So,
Memes make
what
the world go.
resources or strategies can help explore blockchain's potential in specific use cases? So, what are
Oh,
the
resources. The
strategies?
biggest resources we can think of is Blockstars technology.
Yes.
Why? Why
Because
Blockstars?
it's a team of experts that can help identify every aspect you need to consider. So many people come in with an idea, but they fail to look at a certain aspect, the use case, its feasibility, its viability. One person can't get it all right, but if you come to a team of experts like we are,
Look, I think I just want to say something. Just want to say to everyone, like, look, we are a bunch of passionate people, right? And we thrive to excel in this space,
yeah,
right? And when we say we are experts, we know that passion always overtakes knowledge, I would say, right? Because we always want to do something, or we want to do which are things which are cool, and we want to, really push the boundaries when it comes to projects, and when we even like, if you go to any other, let me undo that.
Yes.
When you approach, for example, another like development per se, and I had to appreciate, I think we had to all appreciate that. I think we are so lucky to have Maureen, who brings the legal aspect.
Oh, absolutely. Because
And it's in-house, and that's something that not a lot of other companies are fortunate to do that, right?
someone could come in, explain something to other, like, yep, get that, all of that works, understands it. I can go, yep, that's technically possible. Yes, we can build it. And then Maureen might say it's a pity it's illegal.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's an important thing to know.
It is.
It's super important to know,
Ridiculously
exactly, right?
important.
And we know great, very big supporter of ours, who's Liam Hennessy, right?
Yes.
The Golden,
Hey, Liam.
Yeah,
Shout out to Liam.
right? From the Golden lawyers, and when you talk about how the tokens and how that really, you can't, rather than just putting a token and you not understand the repercussions given the current the environment, the landscape, right?
The regulatory environment,
environment,
Yeah.
you can just create things and hope. We just put a blind eye. But then when things goes bad, who do you come to? Who do you see the
It
advice,
doesn't
right?
have to go bad for you to be in
Yeah,
trouble.
that's right.
It could go well and you could be in
Yeah.
trouble
trouble.
as well, right?
Yeah.
Because everything's on chain, and no one can hide anywhere. Everything's on chain, so it's important to know those resources. And also when it comes to strategies, it's super important to align yourself with strategic partnerships,
Yep,
right?
definitely. That's such a good example. I mean, like, you're never going to go, you'd be very, very smart. Even the smartest people in the world, when they start companies, they don't expect to know everything. What they do is they go to the right people and they, hire the right people. They align themselves with partners that are going to benefit them, that have the knowledge that they're missing,
So this is, I was like, so what are the strategies? How could someone use that resource strategies to explore a blockchain's potential? Not like the usage of blockchain. So like, say for example, where would they go to learn about what is the Ethereum's capabilities? What strategies can they use to learn about Ethereum blockchain versus Flow versus Solana? Well, when when Solana is up, so that's easy. Ouch. I like Solana, by the way.
I would say Google and YouTube,
Or
depending
ChatGPT-4.
on certain things, or ChatGPT-4 somewhat. You can go to ethereum.org. You can jump into Reddit channels. You can jump on Twitter. certain Facebook groups, and start learning.
They could just come to one of our meetups and talk to Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, give me 2 seconds, sorry. Doing the podcast. Speak to you soon. Yeah, podcast. We'll be done soon.
Who are we waving to?
And we interrupt this.
Yeah.
We interrupt this broadcast.
So, on that note, so we sort of about like strategies, like how can people? What are the resources, right? Resources you mentioned about social media, as well as like
Which
paper,
can be dangerous.
Which can be dangerous. I just want to point it
Yeah.
out, like it can be dangerous.
As Craig mentions, if you watch a video on how to change your brakes and it's not right, you might have no brakes.
That person should be verified and that should be on chain so that
but-
you know that you can believe them.
Yeah, but the Ethereum.org, 99 Bitcoins, Whiteboard Crypto,
Crypto's very
Ivan on Tech.
Mhm.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
my
of
shout-outs.
credible places. I mean, even Blockstars puts out a lot of little, educational things,
Yep.
depending on what level of knowledge you want. There are so many. It's so much better than it was like 5-10 years ago where there was nothing.
Mm.
Now there's an abundance of resources. With the internet, if you really want to learn anything, there's unlimited resources right at your
there's-
fingertips.
And there's also a great book called, in this case, I would say Mastering Ethereum by Anton Aponopoulos,
Mhm.
which
Who
you can go to his
My lecturer.
GitHub repository and download it for free.
Hi,
And
Anton.
I just want to say that I was going to drive the conversation to Maureen, because Maureen, so you are the person who you're not technical, right? You're not technical
No.
per se, right?
Yeah.
But you want to learn about the blockchain.
Mhm.
So what was your journey?
So my journey was when it was still kind of early in Australia, before Australia had really adopted. Australia was still definitely in the stage of pushing back. It hadn't adopted, and it was even more so further behind in terms of education. So when I really wanted to seek education, I went and looked everywhere. I had to end up looking abroad, and at that time, globally, very little was out there. A lot of universities hadn't yet moved. The first university in the world to actually develop a accredited, and they are now the leading university in the world, was actually in Cyprus, the University of Nicosia, which is where
Anton.
I'm not going to try to say his name because I was stuffing up. And well, Charlie knows, so just give Charlie a buzz. But I went and I looked I went overseas and I looked and I enrolled online as an external student and I did whatever it took. And it was only when Australia recently caught up with that same level. But I will say Australia is now ranked number 2 in the world with the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, where I studied my specialization. I checked yesterday, and globally, they're ranked very, very hard in that level. It is a hard unit and it's an accelerated unit, but we definitely have the resources now here locally in Australia, where if you want to pay to learn from the best of the best, and they had global lecturers, international lecturers, and they had lecturers that are doing it and building blockchain companies and all actually invested in this technology and all founders. So you will learn from the best of the best. So Australia is now, like, there's no real excuse. If you actually want to learn, now is the best time to learn.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Maureen.
Thanks.
On that awesome note, oh, look what I found, Maureen.
What? My nail!
No, it's not your nail. So on that note, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a little bit loose today. But all in all, I hope you guys got some value, because we had some good discussions here. And it's always a struggle to squeeze all that into a 1-hour session. But if you guys have any specific questions, please hit us up on our social media platforms. Pretty much we're on, I think, 7 platforms.
Can I just say before we go, Blockstars is now opening our consultation, because we're getting so many requests from companies that do want to bring their company up to, up to speed in technology. We will be considering, if you approach us for your company and you are like in a particular industry and you guys want purpose-built lessons or a day of, building your employees up to, a crash course on blockchain, please reach out and let us know. We've started doing it for a number of companies that have requested, and we are open to tailoring it to certain industries if that's what people are looking for.
100%.
Yeah.
That's important, and it's a safe place to learn, and it's going to be so good as well. So on that note, guys, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
guys.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place.
Subscribe.